Hi, YouTube. Suke here with some more thoughts for you. Today, I want to discuss oil because it's what people are mostly discussing about. Now, as you know, the strategy of Iran is to block off the Straits of Hormuz. Let's see if we can see it in this map. The Straits over here. And then pretty much to starve the entire world of oil and make it 200 bucks per gallon or something like that. So here's where I want to give you the facts. Again, you're gonna encounter people that tell you it's not gonna be a big deal. You're gonna encounter other people that tell you that it's the end of the world and that we're gonna have a market crash. And of course, 200 bucks per gallon. Okay, now where am I coming from with this? So, my basic theory is that I believe that the oil price will not go too high. It may go to past 100. That's fine, but it will go down quickly afterwards. Okay, so where am I getting this belief? So first off, we have to realize what's actually affected. The Straits of Hormuz averages 220 million barrels of oil per day. So that's the amount of oil that passes through this little thing over here. Now, please realize that some of the barrels of oil that have passed through there have been diverted to through Saudi Arabia and pipelines through other ports. So it's not the whole 20 million but that has been affected. It's gonna be something like 16, 17 million. So it's still a lot, of course, and it's still gonna hit, but it's gonna hit hard. But it's not the entire 20 million. So aside from that, the IEA, International Energy Agency, has already announced that it'll be releasing 400 million barrels of oil into the reserve, into the market from the reserve. So what does that mean? That means that there's going to be an oversupply of oil for 400 million barrels. So that will make up for the 20 million barrels per day, or less than that. That is gonna get shorted from the supply. Now, what does that mean? So that means that since they're gonna release 400 million barrels of oil, that means there's enough oil supply to fight for maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks, depending on how much oil they can ship in other methods. Before you actually get a shortage. Now, why is the price of oil going up anyway? Because as we can see, the oil price spiked before Trump's speech, and now it's still at 98.37, which is still high from the low prices we had before. Okay, so first off, please realize that we're coming off from a historically low price of oil. That's why it's creeping up. In fact, at the price of oil we had prior to this whole mess, um, there was a there was a situation where countries like Venezuela couldn't even make money off their oil anymore because it was so low. So the increase comes from that. And number two, the increase comes from speculation. The oil market is actually traded in futures. So it's not because there's no supply that that the price goes up. It's because there's this belief that there will be no supply. That's why the oil goes up because people are betting that there will be no supply in the future. So, if they buy oil at an inflated price right now, and then there's an oversupply in the future and the oil price goes down, they lose their bet. If the price of oil keeps going up, then they win their bet. So, why am I telling you about this? So this goes directly into propaganda. Remember, you're no longer dealing in reality. Because I just showed you that if you're just dealing with numbers and the price of oil, or rather supply of oil, there's more than enough to go around. Because number one, all the countries have a reserve anyway. Like I mentioned, China has 1 billion barrels of oil in reserve. America has like somewhere between 400 to 700 million, depending on if you count private reserves. Other countries have their own stuff too. So, and of course, other countries can just increase their production of oil if it comes to that. Um, Now, why do I say that other countries? Just let me go on a tangent for a bit. Why do I say other countries can just increase their production of oil? Um, The dirty secret that nobody will tell you is that we actually have enough oil to go around. Well, why are they saying it's gonna run out? Because it's gonna run out because the price of oil is gonna cost too much to get out of the ground uh, to make it worthwhile. So, for example, say we run out of the easily used oil, then we have to get the more expensive oil, so that oil will go to $150 per gallon or something like that. So, the reason I'm saying that is that if ever this gets to a pinch, that we see a prolonged, like a years long war in Iran, where somehow the Strait of Hormuz is still closed, then that means that we can just tap into other sources of oil, which are more expensive. Okay, now having said that, let's go back to the initial point. Everything right now is propaganda because you're no longer dealing with the actual numbers, you're dealing with what people will think about in the future. So, if you think the war will go long, and if you think Iran has the capability to block the Straits of Hormuz for a long time, then you're gonna bet that the price of oil keeps going up, which pushes the futures up. If you think that the price of oil will go down because the war will not last that long, and the war will and the straits will be open in a bit, then you wouldn't necessarily make this bet, and the price of oil will stabilize or go down. So this is why it's very important to counter propagandists like Hassan and Professor Zhang and the others of the left, because they're directly trying to make it so that Iran wins the war by pressuring the U.S. from the oil front. Now, why do I think that the Straits of Hormuz will be open in a bit? So, please realize that we're only on the 11th day of the campaign, or maybe 12th. I lost count already. In Desert Storm 1 or 2, it took 30 days of bombardment before the Allied armies actually came into Iraq. So it actually could take that long before you see the actual revolt from the ethnic minorities, because they're waiting to get the localized forces destroyed, and they're waiting to get armed. So it's only been 11 days, so we're still very early on. Next, even if Iran wanted to keep destroying the tankers in the oil in the straits, eventually they're gonna run out of places to hide in the nearby areas, because essentially you can't really launch a drone from the middle of Iran to go into the straits over here because it's too far. So they're only going to have a very limited area over here in which to launch and take out the tankers there. And since the U.S. is increasingly putting up overwatch flights throughout the country, they can actually just destroy anything that gets shot. So eventually, the U.S. is going to get more and more in control, and they're going to be forced to stop. And lastly, there's this escalation ladder. So everybody is saying that the escalation ladder is actually at the max already, because Iran's attacking, random countries already, like Azerbaijan, Turkey, and everything else. That's actually only true for Iran. The escalation ladder is nowhere near the highest point for the US yet. So, what have we actually been doing? So, if you've been listening to leftist sources, the only thing the US has actually accomplished is destroyed some fuel depots and destroyed that girls' school, killing 150 schoolgirls. That's pretty much all we did. So, in reality, we've only gone after if we discount the schoolgirls thing, we're only going after regime targets so far, whether it's infrastructure like the oil storage depots, or whether it's command and control centers. That's it. The schoolgirl thing was actually aimed at an IRGC base. It just went to a nearby target instead. So that was just more of a malfunction than anything. Why am I saying this? Because the US can easily up the escalation ladder. So if Iran doesn't stop attacking the straits, we can actually start destroying all their ports. Remember, they say that they're gonna mine the Straits of Hormuz. We can destroy every single port in the country, and there's nothing that they can do to stop it. And remember that in 2010 or something, there was an explosion in a port in Lebanon. Up until now, the damage in that port still hasn't been repaired. So if we destroy these ports in Iran, it'll be a decades before they get these up and running again. Next, we can destroy refineries. We haven't done any of that yet. We can destroy factories and other things that create jobs. Uh, and we can just call it like a weapons factory or something. There's a lot of things we can destroy that will up the escalation ladder to make Iran give up. Which is why I say that they're not going to be able to maintain this for long because we have more pressure that we can pile on. All right. Well, I hope that calmed your mind, and I hope you're not too jittery about oil in the future. I will catch you later, and have a great day.